Sure hope your day's going as well as mine is.
Full of every narcotic and illegal neuroamp you can imagine. Yeah, they handed it off to security. Otherwise,
Always nice to see a full face around.
Everyone's welcome, so long as you keep your hands to yourself. Understand? No causing trouble in here.
Do you know why this place has stood for so... Stay as long as you like. And don't be a stranger. Folks gotta look out for one another. That's why I started serving food all those years ago. Always nice to see a fresh face around here. You stop in whenever you'd like. Do you know why this place has stood for so long? I make sure everyone's comfy. I tell it like it is, and I don't take any shit. Stay as long as you like. And don't be a stranger.
Hey, if you go, oh, bye-bye, love. I'm always here for you, if you need me. Well, mildly interesting at least. Here. I miss you already.
Folks gotta look out for one another. That's why I started serving food all those years ago.
So, when did you stop flying the Swan anyway?
When the cargo became more valuable than the ship.
True. The fleet's got us real busy these days, and we are making good money smuggling all this contraband. But if any time was the right time for a break...
Hey, there's still work to do. I need to check with my contacts at the spaceport and find out what guards are on rotation when we leave port. Then it's back to the key to make sure Delgado gets his cut, and to make sure he hasn't cut us out. I worry sometimes that being in New Atlantis, we're missing out on the big scores. I know that old dog has something big planned. I can feel it.
Sheesh, that is a lot to think about. And here I thought the pirate life was carefree.
Maybe for some people, but that's not how I work.
Well, you feel free to plan our next moves from now to the new year. I'm all about living in the present and being where your feet are.
That's fine. Just make sure to wipe those feet before boarding my ship.
mind about this ship. It's literally called...
I'm ready for combat, Captain.
Never a dull day in the big city.
I'm not doing you any good hanging around here, Skipper.
Hope life is treating you well. Let me know if I can get you anything.
Am I being reassigned? Pew! Sure. Shoot. Pew pew. I'm an expert. I worked at DRIP in the UC Science Division. They're the department responsible for dreaming up new weapons tech for the military. Officially, I was a prototype tester, but my title should have been guinea pig. I was in charge of making sure everything the engineers came up with was safe. When a new weapon was developed, they'd have me take it to an uninhabited planet to put it through its paces. That way, if it blew up, I was the only guy that got hurt. Plenty. Field work's always dangerous, but when you're dealing with experimental tech, close calls are basically a given. But that's half the fun of the job, if you ask me. The kind of marketing exec felt real clever for coming up with. The whole department knows it's ridiculous. We have all kinds of jokes about it. You're dripping on your desk, or call a plumber, there's a drip on this floor. Hilarious stuff. Even management got in on it. Not at all. To tell you the truth, I'm happy to be out of the line of fire. Kinda nice to fly under the radar for a bit. It is weird not to be working for the UC anymore, though. I've had my eye on a job at MASS since I was a kid. Yeah, my boss wasn't thrilled about how things ended. Neither were my parents. They were proud of the fact that all three of their kids worked for the UC. My parents are military vets, both retired now. My dad was top brass during the Colony War, and my mom was a sniper for the UC Navy. As for my siblings, all three of us ended up at MAST. My older sister Georgia works for the Office of Interstellar Affairs in the Administrative Division. Our brother Taylor's the family academic. He's a xenobiologist in the Scientific Division. His job makes my old gig at DRIP look like a cakewalk. You're kind of freaking me out. It might. My dad always says you can't go a week at MASS without hearing the Bankowski name. Here's hoping the place hasn't burst into flames without its most charming weapons tester to keep an eye on things. All right. If you're reassigning me, mind choosing somewhere outside of New Atlantis? Just say where, Captain.
How are you?
Hiya, Skipper.
How are you today?
A brief history of time. If you find any edition, any at all, I will be your friend like forever.
Need a hand with something?
Howdy, Skipper.
I'm thinking next time we're in New Atlantis, we are over.
I got the playoff game recorded. I can grab some chunks. It was a hell of...
No spoilers, Jesus. I've stopped watching SSNN because I don't want to know who won.
Well, you might want to avoid looking at the New Atlantis billboards then.
We need to watch that game soon before I go crazy. Docking procedure is complete.
Lieutenant Toft is as organized as they come. You can be sure she'll keep our T's crossed.
What can I do for you? You're not gonna let this go, are you? Why do you care so much about my past? I suppose that's fair, though I'm
Not sure you're gonna like what you find out. Would it shock you to learn that I spent some time in prison? I suppose that makes me a hypocrite. Oh, come on. I haven't exactly been cordial about my feelings towards the Crimson Fleet's illegal activities. Oh, does it now? Was I giving off some kind of ex-con sort of vibe? Well, give me a chance to explain. I grew up in the Well in New Atlantis. Parents made barely enough money to keep the lights on in our apartment. After I dropped out of school, they begged for me to look for work. But I realized it was a lot easier to simply take whatever I wanted instead. A year after that, I'm a career criminal with UC security breathing down my neck, and my parents kicking me out of the house. You still there? You seemed like you were about to make a point and then... nothing. That's just it, though. I was having the time of my life. Earning way more than I needed to simply get by and loving every minute of it. Back then, if you would have told me one day I'd be wearing this uniform, I'd have said we're out of your mind. Thanks. I'm quite proud of where I've ended up. Let's just say the years after my time in the Well were filled with highs and lows. Look, the point is that I felt you deserved to know a bit about my past, to know where my anger towards the fleet comes from. You're welcome. Well, I think you've had enough for now. You get the point. Let's get back to it before Keyboy writes us a citation for loitering. Good. The more you find, the stronger our case. Interesting. Looks like he's been meeting up regularly with Neva Mora to transfer goods and cash from Sidonia. Which means the Crimson Fleet's just lost one of their drop points. That should set them back a bit. That it? Tisk, tisk. Looks like Mr. Rokoff lied on his application to Trident Luxury Lines about having a clean record. No matter. Next time he jumps from the key, we'll have him picked up. That will be one less fleet captain for us to worry about. Have any more? Are you kidding me? Dombrowski was already making a six-figure salary, and yet he couldn't resist starting an embezzlement scheme. It makes me sick. It's gonna be an absolute pleasure to throw his butt in prison. Any other fragments? Finally. We've been tracking the Jade Swan for almost a year, but Captain Dayu somehow remained one step ahead. Every time we've scanned that ship, it's come up empty. Well, she's not going to skate away this time. Nice work. Find anything else? Yeah, you're right. But there's no way this was a solo job. Shifting all those parts takes serious manpower. I'll send this to Mast so they can shake the tree a bit, see what falls out. Looks like Durand better start looking for parts somewhere else. Anything else? So Voss engineered a way to directly interface with the Key's mainframe? I knew he was a math genius, but didn't realize he was so tech-savvy. Well, we'll share this information with Galbank. Hopefully it'll help them shore up the security on their cryptocurrency. Find anything else? We were aware that Miss LaRue was involved with Fergus Wickham. When her body was recovered, SysDef assumed he was the culprit. Sounds like we had it wrong. Should have pinned the murder on this Clay Dietrich perp. Well, we'll have to clear that up. Nice find. Any other fragments? Damn it. I knew those supplies had to be coming from somewhere, but I never expected them to be leaking directly from the clinic. I'll have to contact Mast and let them deal with this. Freestar Collective territory is out of my jurisdiction. Any other fragments? Good. When SysDef stumbled across the wreckage of the ship, we were sure it was the Crimson Fleet, but we could never prove it. We found 32 dead colonists in that wreckage. Poor crew must have put up a hell of a fight. At least their families will now have some closure. That it? The fleet's planning a raid on Hopetown? Okay. I didn't expect them to be so bold, but I suppose desperate times call for desperate measures. Don't worry. I'll circulate the description of this captain to the authorities on Hopetown and make sure they never set foot in that settlement. Anything else? I have to hand it to Neva Mora. The lady's thorough. That facility on Crete still holds a good bit of valuable resources and equipment. All right, can't do much with this one except pass it over to the military. Hopefully they stop denying the base's existence and do something about it. Find anything else? Okay, fine. I know there's more out there, so keep on it. Yeah. I figured it was only a matter of time before this came up. The reason I didn't bring up the Crimson Fleet is, well, I was one of them. It's something I'm not exactly proud of. He knows quite a bit about my journey. But I'd appreciate it if you didn't mention this conversation to him. I know a great deal about how they operate, what frequencies they use, their encryption techniques, their methods. So, in short, yes. Common ground, but not a common beginning. I was recruited out of New Atlantis by Neva Mora. She said I was making a name for myself, and it caught the fleet's attention. I was thrilled. It was a chance at bigger and better scores and gave me a ticket off-world. Why the heck would I say no? I raised hell on New Atlantis until someone stood up and took notice. And just like Adler Kemp stuck his neck out and vouched for you, someone else in the fleet did the same thing for me. In fact, it was my idea to send you to Sidonia for your first, well, I suppose you call it a mission. Even if I had, I was ignoring the potential repercussions. They took me in. Delgado ran me through the paces on Suvorov, and before I knew it, I was part of the team. Now I was making some serious money. That apartment I boasted about in New Atlantis became a joke. I even made enough to buy my own ship. What do you think? It's a giant ice ball I froze my behind off. We spent a while exploring the surface near the lock, while Delgado laid out his spiel about honor among thieves and all that nonsense. Never got a look inside the facility like you did. I would have agreed with you back then, but when I think about it, I feel like I'm living my best life right now. Everything changed thanks to Commander Akande. The man basically saved my life. I owe him everything. If I've learned one thing about the Commander, it's that he cares deeply about everyone under his command. Look, I've already said too much. I promised Commander Akande I wouldn't talk to anyone about this. All you need to take away is that I've literally walked a mile in your shoes, and I appreciate the risks that you're taking. Carry through with this mission. I promise you I'll be there every step of the way. I suppose, though the Commander won't be thrilled that I told you, so keep it to yourself. So, when I was running with the Crimson Fleet, I put together a hell of a crew. 6 of the toughest pirates I could find. The Commander and I are quite busy, so if you don't mind continuing... On the record, it's against regulations. My personnel profile is private, and you need the proper authorization to access the file. Off the record, Commander Akande isn't exactly popular at Mast for the way he runs his operation, so he likes to keep these things quiet. The fact that an ex-pirate is second in command to SysDef's pride and joy wouldn't inspire waves of confidence from his superiors. Oh, absolutely. I couldn't take my eyes off of any of them for even a second. Imagine trying to get some shut-eye on a ship like that. Didn't sleep much, I can assure you. My first mate was Arya Fikes, the toughest of the bunch. The only problem was that she had a hell of a temper. The smallest things could just set her off, and believe me, she took a while to cool down. Honestly, she was so overbearing she kind of fell into the role on her own. I didn't even make it official for months. Despite her temper, she always had my back and helped me keep the rest of the crew in line. Of course, it also helped that she was the best pilot in the fleet. She flew rings around what SysDef was throwing at us back then. Well, the positives outweighed the negatives. At first. Anyway, there was this one particular incident where we had a hot tip on a freighter supposedly running heavy with ore. The second we dropped out of Grav space, we knew it was a trap. We'd been set up, and the UC was waiting for us. Somehow we managed to take out all of their attack ships. I grabbed Arya and we boarded the freighter. Well, it showed up on Shinya Voss's mission board, which means it could have come from anywhere. I don't know what he's like now, but back then, all of his missions were pretty solid leads with good pay. It wasn't brave. It was arrogant. We fought our way to the bridge and the crew surrendered. That's when the Vigilance arrived. I watched it vaporize my ship and crew in seconds. Commander Akande radioed over for us to give up, turn ourselves in. Arya went wild. Said she'd start executing crew if they didn't let us leave. The commander tried to talk some sense into her, but she was too far gone. I knew right then she'd rather die than surrender. None at all. We were marooned on that freighter. No ship, no escape shuttles, and no chance of rescue. Even as a pirate, I had my limits. I'd never shoot someone that was unarmed and couldn't fight back. As long as they surrendered and gave up the goods, there was no need for them to die. You can't even imagine. Commander Akande promised to be lenient if we let the crew go. When we didn't reply, he sent over a ship to board us. I saw Arya put her gun to one of the hostages' heads, and saw that look in her eye. I could actually see her squeezing the trigger. Next thing I knew, a shot rang out. I'll never forget that look on Arya's face as she fell to the ground with the wound in her chest. Looked down at the gun in my hand like it belonged to someone else. I still don't know why I did it. If you don't mind, I'd like to hurry this up. I keep reliving that moment over and over. Analyzing it. Wondering if I could have done anything different. Every single time, I come up with the same result. Long story short, I spent a year in jail, then Keebway recruited me. I guess he saw something in me, a desire to turn my life around. I busted my ass to get where I am today. First mate of the Vigilance. Ironic I'd end up in Arya's position, don't you think? It took a while, and a lot of reflection, but I know we made the right choice. Had I continued down the road I was traveling back then, we wouldn't be speaking right now. I owe everything to Commander Akande for giving me a second chance. According to my superiors at MAST, we've provided them enough data to wrap up this portion of the operation and call it a success. You've brought us a mountain of evidence against the Crimson Fleet and uncovered some unexpected criminal activity. You've done a hell of a job. Did you lose your train of thought? Oh? Well, I see we've rubbed off on you more than I expected. Anyway, here. I wanted to give you this. It isn't from Commander Akande or the UC. It's from me. It was my sidearm when I ran with the Crimson Fleet. Something special I paid a hell of a lot of money for. Now it's yours. You're very welcome. All right, enough of this mushy nonsense. Time to get back to work.
Okay, hello. Hello.
Home sweet home. Oh, good grief. What'd she borrow? I'll talk to Cora. She knows she has to ask. Trust me, it's all I ever think about.
is now docked. Perfect.